Hello and a very warm welcome to Bharata First. You're watching Big Picture with Frank Rausam Pereira. Prime Minister Narendra Modi met his Bangladeshi counterpart Sheikh Hasina on Saturday and discussed the progress achieved in areas like connectivity, energy, trade, health and developmental cooperation, following which the two countries signed 5 MoUs covering a number of areas of bilateral cooperation. Prime Minister Modi, who was visiting Bangladesh on his first trip to a foreign country since the outbreak of the coronavirus, held one-on-one talks with Hasina, which was followed by delegation-level meeting which continued for over an hour. The two sides signed 5 Memorandum of Understandings covering areas such as connectivity, commerce, information technology and sports. In this edition of Big Picture, we will analyze Prime Minister Modi's visit to Bangladesh and the ties between the two countries. Joining me on the program today are Jitendra Nath Mishra, former ambassador, Major General Ashwini Sivach, retired defense analyst, and Harshvi Pant, head strategic studies, Observer Research Foundation. Thank you to all my guests for joining me on this edition of Big Picture. Ambassador, let me begin the program with you first. Quite a significant visit there by Prime Minister Modi to Bangladesh. The ties between the two countries have grown by leaps and bounds in recent times. The key takeaways for you from the visit?
Well, if you look at the joint statement, it's a very long joint statement. And as a practitioner, I can say that when the joint statement is longer, there are more issues on the table and there are more areas of cooperation, whether developing or complete. Sometimes you talk about things that are going to happen or are happening in the process, and sometimes you talk about things that are completed and you express happiness at that. So there is a mix of everything. And it's also a mix from strategic, political, historical, fraternal, economic. Connectivity is very important. And of course, new areas of cooperation like, very interestingly, outer space. It comes under new areas in that joint statement. So it's a very well-drafted joint statement. It's not talking about inanities. It's not brushing issues under the carpet. It's very subtle because it also states the individual concerns of the two countries. India said whatever, Bangladesh said whatever, and India took note of what Bangladesh said, and Bangladesh took note of what India said. It means that there is convergence but not complete agreement on all issues. Now, interestingly, it talks about historical and fraternal ties. The use of fraternal ties is a very privileged kind of statement to make, and it means that the ties are brotherly, they are not just historical. And it also says it transcends even a strategic partnership. We talk of so many strategic partnerships that India has with so many partner countries. Now with Bangladesh, it transcends them all. It means it's a very special relationship at this point in time. Well, will it happen always? We are not sure. But the other takeaways are connectivity. As far as I know, 5 of 6 rail links have already been restored between Bangladesh and India, such as Darsana, Gede, and so many others. 5 of 6 historic rail links. We had the Friendship Bridge. We also have the memorial to Indian soldiers, 4,000 Indian soldiers that's been announced. That's a huge symbolic takeaway, because there was a certain kind of reluctance by some regimes in Bangladesh in the past to acknowledge that kind of contribution, the heroic contribution of the Indian military during the War of Liberation. So it's a very good statement. Outer space, there is talk of Bangladesh. Sheikh Hasina said that Bangladesh will soon launch its second satellite, and the two sides are talking about cooperation and transfer of technology. And I would dearly like to see India launch Bangladesh's second satellite. Will it happen? We don't know. And of course, there is also, by the way, something on China. China is always there lurking in the shadows. And if you look at the statement given by Gauhar Rizvi, the advisor to the Prime Minister of Bangladesh, to the Indian Express, I read it today, He's talking about India is our most important neighbor. And he's also explaining that it's not a zero-sum game between India and China, and we are very careful. And I would say that Bangladesh has been somewhat more successful than Sri Lanka and Nepal in balancing very carefully between India and China and not raising the hackles in India where India's core interests are concerned. But significantly, he's talking about Bangladesh is saying that India is our most important neighbor, not our most important partner. Is China the most important partner? I will not speculate on that. Or is any other country the most important partner? So, in diplomacy, language is very, very important, and subtlety is very important in this. And of course, there's also the Mujib chair being announced in Delhi University. That's a huge plus because honestly, we don't have a great deal of very, very rigorous Bangladesh studies programs, dedicated Bangladesh study programs in Indian universities. So that's something, another takeaway. Economic connectivity is very, very important. We are again talking about opening up new links, rail and road, bridges, inland waterways, shipping. Inland shipping has already been done. We are also talking about transshipment, but all these things are work in progress.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right. So, General, let me bring you in now. Let's talk about the timing of the visit. That's one aspect. Second aspect I want to take forward with you is the issue of China that the ambassador just raised, and the strategic importance of Bangladesh.
Frank, no doubt about that visit was basically timed because this was to be celebrate the Golden Jubilee celebration of the Republic of Bangladesh independence, and also basically a birth centenary of the father of the nation, Mujibur Rahman. So basically, this visit has gone due to this reason, and in addition to that, many other issues came. No doubt about it, as far as India and Bangladesh are concerned, we have a cultural, historical, religious ties with Bangladesh. Both are becoming neighbors which are now strengthening their strategic ties. That is very important. As on today, Bangladesh fits in India Act East policy as well as neighborhood first. Now, that is a very important issue. Bangladesh is becoming important day by day. Remember, the connectivity and the trade is the two pillars which are to be mentioned time and again. Connectivity, because in case if the connectivity comes back what it was prior to 1965, then the rest of India to northeast can be easily connected through Bangladesh, and the timing and the distance can be cut down almost about half. Out of the 6 railway lines, 5 have been already now operationalized. Haldibari Chillahatti was the last one, where the new train will also start from Dhaka to Jalpaiguri. So the issue is, as far as connectivity is concerned, it is not only road, it is railway, it is also waterway. So connectivity is now getting importance between India and Bangladesh. And second thing is the trade. As far as India is concerned, India is the largest trade partner of Bangladesh. And Bangladesh today is, one can say, that it is the fastest growing economy in South Asia with a more than 8%. And in fact, number of lessons India can learn from Bangladesh. Now, the issue which you told, what about the China? I just want to touch upon the, as far as China is concerned. Very rightfully, Ambassador tried to make out that Bangladesh is trying to sort of balance out its relation both with India and China. I hope and pray the Bangladesh gets successful, because you remember China has come in a big way in all neighbor countries of India, and Bangladesh is no exception. As far as Bangladesh is concerned, more than $10 billion has been spent in last 2-3 years. Bangladesh is a part of a road belt initiative, and in which China is making roads, bridges, railway lines, gas pipeline, and it want to connect the Yunnan province through Myanmar to Bangladesh. And the issue which is coming as far as the defense is concerned, you see the tanks, you see the artillery guns, you see the frigates, you see as far as the aircrafts are concerned, majority of them are of China origin. In fact, of late, they have also taken a submarine when India has possibly said it is crossing a red line. So as far as China is concerned, it has come in a big way in Bangladesh. It is a ground reality, and we have to counter it by by ensuring that we can also go in China and go in Bangladesh and invest it. Our biggest problem is that whatever we promise, we cannot deliver at times on ground, and due to which these smaller countries, including Bangladesh, need investment, and China comes to substitute that. China has a deep pocket. China has spent a lot of money. Remember that China is making you can say a modern sort of state or a modern town very close to Dhaka. The Sylhet airport has been also taken by a Chinese company, and China is now connecting it, the road and the railway link through Myanmar. This is the plan, because what they have made a China Myanmar economic corridor aim is that if they can also connect it to Bangladesh. So therefore, as far as the relationship of Bangladesh with China is concerned, it's a ground reality. We cannot wish away, but what we can do is we have to improve our relationship between us and Bangladesh. As on today, it is a golden era because Sheikh Hasina is totally pro-India, and this opportunity should be made use of it. What we can do is our trade has to increase much more than what it is. The bridge which has been made on Feni River, the sub-room from Tripura is now connected with Ramgarh in Bangladesh. Thereby, today Agartala is only 80 kilometers from Chittagong port as well as from Mongla port. So our connectivity, the point is today Agartala, instead of sending its stuff through Calcutta, it can send it through Mongla and also Chittagong. So this has to be made use of. Also, what we have to make sure is that as far as Bangladesh is concerned, we should able to offer them much more than what we are offering as far as the trade is concerned. We are already giving, as for the custom duty free item, but China has given almost 97% of the item which Bangladesh is importing China, they are duty free. So some sort of this we have to attract. The concern which India has very openly told to Bangladesh is that please learn the lesson from what happened in Myanmar, what happened to Sri Lanka, what happened to Pakistan, what happened to Malaysia, that if you depend too much on China, you will not able to pay back the debt and you will come in a debt trap. And our basic concern is the Chittagong port, because Chittagong port is being developed by China in a big way. And as you are aware, that the encircling which China want to do of India in this Chittagong port fits in, because Kuakapu in Myanmar, Chittagong in Bangladesh, Hamantota in Sri Lanka, and one of the island in Maldives, Djibouti in East Africa, and Gwadar. And therefore, Chittagong has become a deep sea port, and it is being developed in a big way by the China. This is also our cause of concern. So overall, what I say, that China is come in a big way, but only way to counter is that we should able to look after each other interests. And I am sure that today, the way the today government of Bangladesh is there, we are going through a very good phase, and we should encash it by having much more better relation in terms of military, in terms of trade, in terms of space, in terms of cyber security.
All right, points taken. Harshvi Pant, Professor, let me bring you into the picture now. As far as the economy is concerned, let's focus on that for a little bit, and take that particular aspect forward. So the general was talking about the economy, and Bangladesh's economy seems to be doing very well right now, flourishing. What does that mean for South Asia? What does that mean for the ties between India and Bangladesh?
Frank, it seems to me that we are talking of a golden era in India-Bangladesh relations, and I think one of the fundamental drivers here has been, as I think that the other two speakers have pointed out, a sense of convergence at the level of top leadership, which has allowed the two countries to move forward at a number of levels. Some very difficult issues have been tackled, but I think the other element is what you are talking. This is a transformative moment in India-Bangladesh relations in the larger South Asian, I think, economic revival, because now we are looking at Bangladesh, which people like Henry Kissinger had derided as a basket case at one point in time, today being looked at as an economic dynamo in the region. And clearly, if you have two major economies in South Asia, India along with Bangladesh, driving the economic revival of South Asia, then it is going to have very significant long-term implications, because we are today looking at a situation where India has perhaps for the first time become serious about its eastern flank. The idea that unless India starts reviving its eastern, landscape, its northeast, the whole West Bengal, northeast Bangladesh linkages, India's economic revival will only remain a fantasy. And I think that is why we are looking at how important Bangladesh has become in India's imagination of its neighborhood. The idea that it sits at the very intersection of neighborhood first and Act East policy. The fact that Bangladesh is the connector between India and Southeast Asia. The revival of Bay of Bengal economic landscape, that the idea that Bay of Bengal is now pivotal to India's own regional imagination, is central to the way now India is looking at its own economic future, linked more organically with Bangladesh and with Southeast Asia. So clearly, as Bangladesh rises, as Bangladesh, the aspiration is that Bangladesh will be one of the top 25 economies over the next decade. This is extremely good news for India, because India needed a partner like that to leverage its strengths and to make India more capable of transforming the larger Southeast Asian economic landscape, which for various reasons, as we know, has not been able to recover, has not been able to come out of the economic downturn. So what we are looking at now is the economic aspect of this relationship becoming much more potent, and the recognition at the leadership level that this is going to be the driver of this relationship going forward. And therefore the focus on connectivity, the focus on infrastructure, the focus on bringing youth to the discussion. Unless youth is connected to this idea of what this relationship means, we can continue to talk about India's role in 71 war, but very soon it will all be history. No one is going to remember in Bangladesh. And so we have to make it more forward looking. And that's, I think, one of the few things have been which Prime Minister announced are actually can be path breaking, in inviting Bangladesh young entrepreneurs to India, linking them to India's venture capitalists. Very, very important move, very significant move, because that's the ecosystem that we have now. India, Bangladesh together can really revive this idea of what happens in the region. We also heard from Foreign Secretary saying that, look, the BBIN motor vehicles agreement is being looked at, and the idea that we are, that India can facilitate Bangladesh's trade with Bhutan and Nepal is going to be a game changer in that sense. If that can happen, if that can be reinvigorated, if that can be focused upon, that part of India which has not been doing very well in the future, and I think to its credit, the government has been making this case that unless we bring India's eastern economic profile on par with India's western economic profile, it won't work. And I think that is what exactly seems to be the driver in this relationship. And my sense is that the leadership gets it, the bureaucracies now get it, and very soon I think the people's understanding of this will also change, and very soon we will see more bottom-up engagement on this particular aspect, where economics, trade, connectivity, infrastructure will become the driver of a large part of this relationship, which has not really lived up to the potential despite our historical and cultural linkages. And my sense is that is going to change the nature of this relationship, and that is going to change the future of almost the Bay of Bengal community and how we look at Bay of Bengal as a critical anchor in the wider Indo-Pacific.
Absolutely. All right. So, Ambassador, let me take the discussion forward now. Go back to a point that the General was making about how China has invested heavily in, in Bangladesh, really, as far as frigates are concerned, from the military side of things. But, our lines of credit really have not been used. What your thoughts on that? How do you look at this?
Absolutely. I was going to come to that. We have a line of credit for defense, and there is a mention in the joint statement also that India has requested Bangladesh to expedite using that line of credit. Now, this line of credit was given a considerable time back. Why hasn't anything happened? So I can only draw the conclusion from this that Bangladesh is going perhaps deliberately a little bit slow on implementing this. What about the coastal radar? There is an agreement in 2019 about a coastal radar for white shipping to prevent piracy in the high seas. And this is very much part of what Professor Pant said, connectivity to the East Bangladesh being a bridge to the Indo-Pacific. That's a dream, that's an aspiration that both the countries are jointly resolved to achieve. Now, defense has to be part of that because we have to secure that area. So Bangladesh, I would request our Bangladeshi friends to do more on this in actually giving shape to this line of credit transforming into something more tangible, to use some platforms from India. Why not? If they can use Chinese platforms, why not Indian platforms? Gohar Rizvi said very clearly to Indian Express, the foreign policy advisor on China, coming back to that point, that our relationship in China is with regard to economics and developmental and finance and nothing more. And India is our most important partner, most important neighbor. He didn't say partner. I've already said that. Now, so India is our number one. That's what he kept implying. Now, he's talking about that, and he says, in fact, we have been very careful. And he took the name of Sri Lanka, astonishingly, that Sri Lanka has made mistakes with regard to Chinese loans and repayments, but we don't want to fall into the debt trap. So that answers the question. But will they be able to do it? Let me tell you that I have talked to Bangladeshi friends just yesterday. And the sense is that if there is some anti-India event in Bangladesh, people will not say a thing. But if there is an anti-China event, both the media and the government will rise with alacrity to quash that. And I asked that question, why? Why so much of fear of China? It's about the economics, sir. That was the answer. And we are so strongly tied to China that it becomes very difficult for us to get out of that embrace. Now, connecting that with what Professor Pant had said about connectivity and the Lucky's policy, putting it all together into a kind of a grand strategy with the Bay of Bengal region as the hub. Now, there is also the trilateral highway. Interestingly, Bangladesh wants to come on board the India, Myanmar, Thailand trilateral highway, and that's something that India should welcome, because it really opens. We have to get Bangladesh on board, and of course the BVIN, as was mentioned. But, this is a strategic opportunity. This is not an economic opportunity alone. Look at Bangladesh's GDP, $6.2 billion in 1972, $6.2 billion US dollars. And in 2019, it was $305 billion US dollars and expected to double in 2030. And Bangladesh will soon be graduating from the LDC, least development country, to a developing country status. Then under Sheikh Hasina, and I would like to congratulate their government, per capita income has nearly tripled. Bangladesh is number 2 in the global garment industry exports after China, $305 billion, and most of them are women. This is terrific. Now, for India, this is not just an economic opportunity, it is strategic, because the migration to India will hopefully slow down in the decades to come, and the problem will solve itself without irritants in the relationship. So it's a huge opportunity.
Absolutely. It is indeed a huge opportunity for India. Let's see how we go forward and capitalize on that opportunity. That is not just India, but both India and Bangladesh. Since we're here, General, let's also talk about this aspect of India-Bangladesh defense ties. Where do they stand? Where do you think they are headed? What more needs to be done to see further cooperation?
Frank, before that, remember that Bangladesh was very helpful in sorting out militant activities, especially in Northeast. What was happening is number of camps of this extremists which are operating in Northeast, like Ulfa, NDFB, NSCN, were having in Chittagong. After Sheikh Hasina came in power from 2008 onwards, all these camps were rounded up and they were moved out from there. They either gone, they surrendered, or they have been killed, or they have moved to Myanmar and way to their China. So this is one thing, as far as we can always be thankful to Sheikh Hasina, that the peace has come in Northeast, kind courtesy also from Bangladesh. Bangladesh has been very helpful in basically ensuring that their land and is not being utilized by extremists. But what is a cause of concern as far as this is concerned is that the ISI still has a footprint in Bangladesh, and wherever China comes, Pakistan also follows it. And China is trying to make sure that Pakistan also revive its relation with Bangladesh. And that is not a very good thing for India. And we are trying to make sure, because ISI is Jamaat-e-Islami Pakistan, anti-Indian sentiment which is being aroused. Remember that when Prime Minister Modi has visited Bangladesh, there have been some anti-India sentiment which has been erased. Though they are in minority today because Sheikh Hasina is totally pro-India. But that is a cause of concern because there are some elements which are inimical to the friendship of India and Bangladesh. Now, as far as the defense ties are concerned, now we are to make sure that Bangladesh get dependent more on India rather than China. And this is what is going to be now a change. We are offering them number of weapons, much lower cost and in a competitive rates. And we are trying to say that the line of credit which is given to Bangladesh should be used. Remember that very recently we had this Aero Show 21, which was in Bangalore. The Bangladesh air chief has flown the Tejas. They have shown the interest in Tejas. We are ready to offer them. The Tejas is one aircraft which Bangladesh can buy. We are doing now a number of military exercises together between India and Bangladesh Army, Air Force, Navy. They are being also invited for doing a naval exercise on the Andaman Nicobar basically command and also in the Bay of Bengal. The another issue which can be there between India and Bangladesh is that number of training institutions which are there. We are calling their cadets, their officers which are doing courses here. This strength has to be increased manifold because majority of them are going to China and to some extent to other countries. We have to make sure that they come to India. This is another thing which we have to make sure that in time to come it get reversed. The another issue is that tanks, you can say the Indian manufactured tanks which are indigenously produced, RT guns, Dhanush which is there, and then the frigates which are being built in India itself are being offered to Bangladesh. So aim is that all weapon system which they are purchasing from China, in a time to come they should able to purchase from India. That is our endeavor. Now remember that time and again we are telling it that it is the economy which plays a major role between Bangladesh and China. You like it or not like it, the way China has invested heavily, though Bangladesh is careful, they will not get into debt trap. But the fact is that the investment is so heavy, can Bangladesh pay back? That is a cause of concern for India. India is trying to make out. But to do that, we have to also ensure the red line which Bangladesh has. They also must be, there are certain sensitivity in the part of Bangladesh. We must also address as a nation, like what we say, Citizen Amendment Act, NRC, we have already conveyed these are internal issue. Testa water is still pending. It is very nice that land border dispute was resolved in 2015, which was lingering on for almost about more than 60 years. And same way, this Tista water problem has to be resolved if we want to make sure that anti-India sentiment do not arise in Bangladesh. Sure. Another issue which is there is this, what Ambassador was telling is, how do we make Bangladesh as a partner for our Act East policy? That is this trilateral highway which is there, which is going from India, Myanmar, Thailand, then subsequently connecting Cambodia and Laos. Bangladesh is keen and we should make them a partner. This will be a win-win situation for both the nations. So overall, what I say, that our military to military relationship are very important. The way today Bangladesh is economically advancing, this is a positive sign for India, because this infiltration which was taking place from Bangladesh to India for economic reason is almost now become a case of a past, and there is a chance of reverse infiltration taking. So the moment this infiltration is stopped, we can be a more co-partner and make sure that both the countries jointly work together, whether it is from defense forces or also from trade point of view, that if we jointly produce results, we can be a force to reckon with in South Asia.
All right. Professor, let's talk about another aspect as well. Let's not forget that we are in a challenging neighborhood. We have challenging neighbors, be it Pakistan, be it China, and we've seen what else has happened, be it in Myanmar, in Sri Lanka, and in Nepal. The smaller countries keep playing the China card, and then we have to deal with Pakistan on one side and China on the other. Considering the kind of region we are in, the kind of neighbors we have, how important is this relationship between India and Bangladesh?
Frank, very important, and in my personal opinion, perhaps this is India's centerpiece relationship if you are looking at the neighborhood for various reasons. One, of course, is the China factor. One, of course, is the Bay of Bengal, which we have discussed. But the other element is, we the whole sense that the relations with Pakistan, for various reasons which we are well aware of, go through peaks and troughs. And Bangladesh now, an Islamic country, again a predominantly Islamic country, which is very important from India's domestic political milieu as well. That India is not afraid to engage with countries around its periphery or beyond, which are perhaps different in that sense from us, and the whole perception that India is not keen on engaging Pakistan, primarily because Pakistan is an Islamic state, as Pakistan has time and again tried to convey to the world that this is primarily a domestic problem of India that India is transposing on Pakistan. I think a robust relationship with Bangladesh refutes all those issues at a number of levels. And I think that is why it is so significant that we build on this relationship, we engage with Bangladesh substantively, and we make it very clear to various stakeholders that our relationship with Bangladesh stands on its own merits, for various reasons that we have been discussing right now. The China factor, of course, we really can't do much about it. Our neighbors, our smaller states, have an agency of their own. They will think about their own interests. They will work according to their own interests. We really can't preclude them from engaging with China. What we can do is make them aware of our sensitivities. And I think that is an interesting development now happening. If you see statements, I think Ambassador was mentioning Gaur Rizvi's statement, but also if you look at the statement from Sri Lanka's National Security Advisor a few months back, there is a clear understanding that India has certain red lines that needs to be respected, that India cannot really be on security front, cannot be made a second tier partner, because stakes are very high for India and for the smaller countries. So while smaller countries will deal with China on their own merits, they also are realizing the limits of what they can and cannot do when it comes to balancing the two. But what India can offer, what India can do is to offer a transparent developmental partnership, a partnership that cuts across domains, and also because of our geography, where we are linked with most of these countries, at the people-to-people level. Whatever Chinese can do in Bangladesh, whatever they can do in Nepal, whatever they can do in Sri Lanka, they really cannot match India's bottom-up experience with these countries, what India's people-to-people ties, cultural relations with these countries. And that's something that not only needs to be celebrated, but also made more robust. How can we make it more robust? And I think a lot of the time, as I was discussing earlier, our discussions tend to be focused on the past. That of course India played a very important role in 1971. Of course, India has a relationship with Nepal that is which we often call as roti or beti ka rishta hai. But I think the question there is, how are we reimagining these relationships in contemporary times? Are we able to do that? Are we able to put in the kind of effort that is needed on issues which are meant to be the 21st century issues, the future of work, the future of employment, the future of economic architecture? Are we in a position to lead on that front and develop partnerships on those fronts? Education is one. I mean, the fact the ambassador was pointing out very interestingly, we don't have scholars, and this is not simply related to Bangladesh. This is a wider problem. How many where are good Pakistan scholars, where are good China scholars? So if you don't have these scholars, then Bangladesh is very much below in the hierarchy. I mean, it's quite ironical that we have not been able to develop those ecosystems which can produce expertise on these countries to an extent that is needed. So clearly, I think we need to rethink the role for ourselves, the role that India plays in the neighborhood, but also be aware of the limits, and that certain things we can't do. We cannot prevent China from encroaching. We can't, but what we can do is offer an alternative that is transparent, an alternative that is about developmental partnership as an equal with these countries, and a partnership that responds to 21st century challenges and not simply talks about our historical and cultural ties.
Absolutely. All right. Time to get quick closing comments from all my panelists. Ambassador, let me go back to a point that the General was making earlier in the program and take that particular aspect forward with you as well. The role of extremist elements in Bangladesh, and can they upset the apple cart, so to speak, as far as the ties between India and Bangladesh are concerned?
Oh, they definitely can. And I agree with Professor Pant that we should be looking to the future, not to the past. But the past provides a lot of lessons that we must wisely apply to the way we want to shape our future. And the leaders are doing that. But it can't be a leader-driven relationship because Islam, as Professor Pant said, and also General Seward said, the extremism is a very important, though still a small but important, noisy, it punches above its weight component of Bangladesh's domestic politics. Now go back to history. Let's not be too euphoric about 1971. It's not going to help us. True. The three-nation idea, India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, the Bangladeshi mainstream thinking, I served there, and I'm saying it on the basis of my study of that country and living there. That thinking was perhaps turned to the sidelines for a very brief period only tactically during the liberation struggle, meaning the secularists had a temporary sway. But that has always been a minority opinion in Bangladesh. Bangladesh says we are Bengalis, but we are Bangladeshis and we are Muslims. We are different from Hindu Bengalis. So it's a relationship, complicated relationship with their own ethnicity, with their own culture, with Islam, with India, with everything. So they find themselves in with various parameters, various components. And their message to India is leave us alone. We are Muslims and that's what it is. Now, so therefore, the extremists will always have some kind of an ecosystem in that kind of society. You cannot wish it away. We cannot say Bangladesh is formally secular, but Islam is the state religion. It's a kind of a balancing they're doing internally. But the reality is, and my Bangladeshi friends told me yesterday only, I spoke to some of them, I said, look, the violence took place. I speculate, Jitendranath Mishra speculates, I said, that the government at least condoned it. They did not instigate it, but they might have condoned it. He said, you are spot on, Ambassador. That's what they did. Why? Because if you don't support us, the alternative is far worse. And secondly, it becomes a pressure point. Also, it reflects a certain amount of public opinion in Bangladesh. And that's why the unfortunate events took place yesterday and the day before. Now, Hifazat-e-Islam, the Awami League, has been talking, having a dialogue with them about power sharing for years. It's nothing new. So they are hobnobbing with the most extremist face of Bangladeshi Islam, which is appropriating the space that the Jamaat-e-Islami has lost historically because of BNP going out of power and then the trials and all those things. So it's the new Jamaat-e-Islami, Saudi money coming into this, madrasas. So this is an existential problem from India. So history is very important. We cannot wish it away. And look at the Lahore resolution. What did it say? It talks about a three-state solution. India, Pakistan, one Islamic majority state in the west and one Muslim majority state in the east. And the Bangladeshi said that's been realized. So how can India claim that the two-nation theory came to an end? It ended with the birth of Bangladesh. It's very complicated looking at it from their point of view. So this kind of extremism is not going to go away, and this is going to be a huge challenge for the future of the relationship. Therefore, Prime Minister Modi very wisely talked to the opposition. We cannot have a top-down relationship from the leaders. Sheikh Hasina is not going to be there forever. We cannot put all our eggs in the Awami League basket. We have to be very careful.
Absolutely. Absolutely. General, very quickly, best way forward?
Very correctly, Ambassador has brought out this issue, and I fully agree. One, two more issues which need to be resolved immediately are Rohingya issue. 10 lakhs Rohingyas are come in Bangladesh, and they have been very well handled by Bangladesh government. They are in Chittagong and Bashar Char Island, which is being made by Bangladesh. But they have to go back to the Myanmar at the earliest, and India can play a very constructive role. One is helping out Bangladesh to make sure that they are taken care of. Second thing is to ensure that they are sent back to Myanmar as soon as possible, because India enjoys good relation both with Bangladesh and Myanmar. If Rohingya stay too long in Cox's Bazar, there is a threat of infiltrating them in India, and they are a big security risk. This has been told time and again. The another thing which we have the Hifazat-e-Islam, my point is that remember, Bangladesh is the country where India has played a major role in their freedom struggle, and we have jointly fought with along with Mukti Bhani and gave the birth to Bangladesh. But within 3 years, you find the complete history has changed. In 75, when Sheikh Mujibur Rahman was assassinated, you find that for another 15, 20 years, it was anti-India sentiments in the top. It is only when the Sheikh Hasina has come and Awami League party has come into power, the relationship start looking up. And I fully agree with the ambassador. It should not happen that we are putting all eggs in one basket. We have to see a long term. We should have a practical solution with Bangladesh, try to help them out wherever we can, so that the strategic relations are built up, not built up on personality. If the personality is no more there, what will happen then? And there are ground problems because we are afraid to announce them publicly. We are saying everything is goody-goody. No undercurrents are there. ISI is coming in a big way in Bangladesh, and China is trying to help out Pakistan to revive back its relationship with Bangladesh. These are the ground reality, and we must understand that. We have to counter it by doing concrete result, by having a connectivity, by trade, by taking care of Bangladesh. And whatever we promise in Bangladesh, we should able to constructively produce result. This problem is not only in Bangladesh specific, it is in Nepal, Bhutan, even in Myanmar. We promise them projects, but we are not able to finish them in time. This is what we need to do it. And remember that Bangladesh is very important neighbor to India. For our Act East policy, neighborhood first, we should maintain this relation in a strategic way, in more intelligent way, and look for future and not depend only on a particular leader, where leaders don't have sort of time for years together. So therefore, we have to be practical and take the complete leadership of Bangladesh, which should become a pro-India in time to come by our actions, our positive actions, which is taking care of the interest of larger interest of Bangladesh, especially in trade and commerce, as well as in their connectivity, and also trying to resolve Testa water as soon as possible.
All right, and Professor Pant, close the show for us with your quick concluding remarks.
Frank, as everyone has pointed out, this is a very important phase in the relationship. But again, I agree that you really cannot have a top-down approach to foreign policy over a long period of time. And I think this space, this time, this opportunity should be used to enhance the number of stakeholders involved in this conversation. And I'm glad that it is beginning to happen. I think we have to bring the youth on board. We have to bring academics and other thinkers on board, so that there is a wider range of views and ideas flowing into this relationship. It cannot simply be driven by the two bureaucracies or by the two leaders at the top. But clearly, this is a moment which is an important one. It is almost an inflection point. If we can use this, if we can leverage it to our advantage, it will not be important. It will not be, it will not augur well for the. It will augur not only well for the India-Bangladesh relations, but also I think for the wider South Asian landscape, where Bay of Bengal is becoming such an important maritime space. So I think bringing in more stakeholders into this conversation, whether they are related to trade and economics or whether they are related to the level of ideas, I think should be an important priority. And I think it's if you see the efforts being put in place over the last few years, that's what seems to be we are beginning to see some of that happening. But how far and how fast that happens will probably determine the trajectory of this very important relationship.
All right, gentlemen, we'll have to leave to that. Thank you so much for joining me on the program and putting things into perspective for us. What's coming out of this discussion is that this is the golden era in India-Bangladesh ties, and the relationship transcends even a great strategic partnership. Under Sheikh Hasina, Bangladesh's per capita income has tripled and the economy is doing well, which is a good sign for Dhaka, New Delhi, and even South Asia. Bangladesh is of strategic importance to us, and we should reimagine the relationship and keep abreast with the times. There are irritants that can derail ties in the long run. Hence, it is important not just to focus on personalities and put all our eggs in one basket, but ensure all stakeholders are on board. Well, that's it from me. See you again next time. But before I leave, let me thank you once again for being here. Remember to like and subscribe to Bharata First on YouTube and follow the social media handles. I need your support more so now than ever. Please spread the word.